morning to all of you. My name is Shruti Tiwari, and today I will be teaching you tissues. If we talk about unicellular organisms, all the life processes in unicellular organisms such as digestion, respiration, excretion, and reproduction are performed by single cells. Whereas if we talk about multicellular organism, different group of cells performs different functions. In multicellular organisms, we will see that there is a division of flavors in cells, and each tissue is composed of the cells that originate from the parent cells. And obviously, if they are originating from a common origins of parent cell, they will be having a characteristic shape, size, and arrangement, which would be different. Now, if we talk about tissues, what are tissues? Tissues are a group of cells that are similar in structure and works together to perform a particular function. Now, if we are talking about tissues, we must know what are the importance of tissues. If we talk about the importance of tissues, the first and foremost, we remember in our mind that tissue formation has brought the division of labor in multicellular organisms. Tissue became organized to form organs, and from organs we will see organ systems. Workload of an individual cells have been decreased, as if we see in unicellular organism a single cell will perform all the functions as we talked above, like this digestion, excretion, respiration. Whereas if we talk about multicellular organisms, there are division of labors, so a particular cells will perform a particular function, such as there will be a different kinds of cells for respiration or different kinds of cells in our muscles which will help in contractions and relaxations. Therefore, the workload of an individual cells have been decreased. Due to improved organization and a higher efficiency, multicellular organisms has a higher survival. It means that we have improved our organization, and as each cells are performing different functions, there are higher efficiency. For example, if I say if you have to pick five bricks, then you will get tired easily. Whereas if I'll say you have to take one brick at a time, you will be able to, carry it far. Therefore, it will have a higher efficiency and multicellular organism has higher survival rate. Now, talking about the types of plant tissues are divided on the kinds of cells present, such as meristematic cells and permanent cells. Meristematic cells are the undifferentiated cells which are capable for self-division. Whereas if I talk about permanent cells, they are differentiated and they are incapable of cell division. If we are talking about cell division, we are talking about its growth. Growth in apical, that means lengthwise, or lateral, widthwise, or thickness-wise, and intercalary. Whereas in permanent tissue, we will see a simple and complex tissue. Simple tissues are those as parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Whereas if we talk about complex tissue, there are xylem and phloem. Now let's talk about meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue consists of undifferentiated cells. Again, I am talking that meristematic tissues are consist of undifferentiated cells that are actively dividing. They help in growth of the plant. They are found in those regions of the plant that can grow, such as tip, shoot, and cambium. These tissues are living and bring about an increase in the length and girth of the plant. Now, talking about the characteristics of these meristematic tissue, these cells are in active stage of cell division. Active stage in case that they help in increasing of the growth. Each meristematic tissue contain dense or abundant cytoplasm and a single large nucleus. The meristematic cells are compactly arranged, that is, without intercellular space between them. If I talk about meristematic cells, you will find that they are compactly arranged and you'll hardly see any space between them. This helps them to grow. Cell walls is made up of thin cellular layer. These cells may have a shape like spherical, oval, polygonal, rectangular. These cells may or may not contain vacuole. There is a question in NCERT which says some cells do not have vacuoles. Why? And now, if you read these characteristics, you will find that meristematic tissues contains dense and abundant cytoplasm, such as ribosomes, which helps them to grow in their size. Now, when they'll have large amount of vacuole, they won't be able to grow abundantly. Function. Now, if we talk about functions, it has the ability to divide. Hence, they are continuously divided to produce new cells, which keeps differentiating to form specialized cell of the plant. The cell of the root tip and shoot tip brings about an increase in the length of the plant, and the cell in the lateral region, that is cambium, brings about the increase in the growth of the plant. See, I'll explain you this by showing you a diagram. If we talk about the root and shoot, such as these things, they grow, they grow and they increase in the length. Whereas if we talk about the lateral division, that means this part, they grow in the thickness and increase in the thickness, and you have an example of cambium. Types of meristematic tissue. We have three types of meristematic tissue, that is apical, lateral, and intercalary. Apical meristematic tissue. They are present at the apex of the root or stems. They are responsible for increase in length of an axis. Again, if I talk about apical, we means from top to bottom. So they are responsible for increase in the length. Lateral meristematic or cambium. They lies on the lateral side of the stem. They are here. They are lies on the lateral side of the stems and roots. They help in increasing the thickness or girth of the stems and roots. Now, if I talk about intercalary meristematic, they lies at the base of the leaf, internode on twig. Helps in longitudinal growth of the plant, that is responsible for increase in the length of intermodular region. Now, there is a question in NCERT that if we take about 2 glass jar and fill them with water, now take 2 onion bulbs and place one on each jar as shown in the figure. Observe the growth of the root in both the bulb for a few days. Measure the length of the root on day 1, 2 and 3. On the day 4, cut the root tip of the onion bulb in the jar to about 1 centimeter. After this, observe the growth of the root in both the jar and measure their length each day for 5 more days and record the observation in table. For the above observation, answer the following question. Which of the two onions have longer root and why? Now tell me which of the two onions will have the longer root. If you have understood the question tries to say is that we have a 2 jar that is filled with water. There are 2 onion bulbs. In jar 1, we see that there are roots, and in jar 2, we see the roots. Now, I decide to cut the roots of jar 2, and we are observing the growth. Now, the question says that which of the two onions have the longer root and why? Now, the answer is the onion in the jar 1 will likely to have the longer root initially because its tip haven't been trimmed. The growth of the root is often initiated from the tip because of axial meristematic tissue. Do the root continue growing even after we have removed their tips? Yes, you will see that the root will generally grow even their tips have been removed. Cutting the tips may temporarily halt the extension, but the growth will resume. Why would the tip stop growing in the jar 2 after we cut them? The tip growing in the jar 2 after being cut because the apical meristematic tissue, again, apical meristematic tissue is responsible for the growth of the root. Now, there would be some questions like, what do you understand by the term tissues? Explain about meristematic tissue. Differentiate about meristematic and permanent tissues. I will be teaching you permanent tissues in our next lecture. Thank you very much.